Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni wanji, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted and so very honored that you join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher Radio, wherever you find your podcast. Join us right now from the great state of New York. Our guest is here today to help us become more mindful, to stretch and move, and help us get our kids to move as well. The name of her book is 108 Awesome Yoga Poses for Kids. Please welcome to the show, Lauren Chaitoff. Hey, Lauren Chaitoff, how are you?
I am good, Jed. Thank you so much for having me today.
I'm excited to have you on. So 108 awesome yoga poses for kids. What's the most awesomest pose out of the 108?
Well, I would have to say my favorite is Shavasana, which is the final resting pose. I know you've done a little bit yoga, so that I would say is my favorite pose. And actually, many people are surprised to hear that it's kids' favorite pose as well.
Okay. So I did share with you that I'm had started to do yoga and looking forward to get back to it once I'm back to full physical health. I have to be honest with you though, that's the pose that I kind of like, okay, I'm done. I can shut off the video now and I can get up and start stretching. I don't do it. So why should I be doing that last pose?
Oh, that's so funny you say that. You are not alone in that, so don't feel bad about that. I taught adults for many years too, and there were quite a few that once the physical practice was over, they would kind of sneak out. Yogis will often say that is the most important pose, actually. It's the pose where your body gets to absorb the benefits of all the other asanas like tree pose and downward dog and the vinyasas. And yoga is mind, body, heart. And a big part of what we're trying to teach kids is how to relax, how to self-regulate, how to soften, how to become more easeful, especially today because, children are growing up during a mental health crisis. So that pose, that's what that pose does, right? And it's hard. It's hard to be still and it's hard to be quiet. So like I said, you're not alone in that. And perhaps after our talk, the next time you'll practice, you might be inspired to stay in that pose a little bit longer.
Well, I am definitely going to give it a shot. You mentioned one of my favorite poses is the tree pose. I just, at my advanced, almost 100 years of age, I just love being able to stand up on one leg and raise the other one and just balance, that sense of being balanced. It seems that's one way for me to kind of shut everything else off. Yeah. Because I need to concentrate on not falling on my head when I'm standing up on one leg. Is that something that you find yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's even a name for that. In yoga, we have like a one-pointed focus, right? When we balance, it requires focus and concentration, which is great for children to foster those values. It helps with so many things in school, in terms of regulation, especially for children that do maybe have, ADD or ADHD, putting them in a pose and making it playful and fun while, like you said, they're balancing on one foot, which, kids love to do stuff like that. And at the same time, they also have to work on keeping their eyes focused on one thing, maintaining stability, which requires focus and concentration.
I'm imagining there are parents out there who have a kid with, I used to love to say about my son, a lot of extra energy. And and they're saying, there's no way my daughter is going to do yoga. I mean, please. Do you find that there are a lot of parents who come to you with that attitude and then become very pleasantly surprised that their kids indeed love yoga?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jed. So yes, and Yogi Beans has been around since 2007. And really what we do is we translate the practice of yoga into a language that kids can understand and most importantly, that they enjoy. So I often say our classes and the book evoke the spirit of the name, Yogi Beans. It's like a fun, playful name when you say it. And our classes are very similar to the book in that it has to be fun. We're working with children. So kind of like how Mary Poppins says, like, the job's a game. You know, you need to make yoga playful and joyous, and we don't take it too seriously, while at the same time not watering down yoga, having a great appreciation for yoga's roots. We're teaching it to children, though. So when parents do come with that mind frame, we say, let them try a class, and then let's see what your kid says after. And they are always pleasantly surprised. Teachers, too. You know, they come in, oh, we're trying it. We don't know. What if they find it boring? It's different than an adult yoga class. Yeah. I will say that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I want to get into all the different benefits that kids can get from yoga and also adults and old folks like me. But before we do, one of the things that I've heard, and I want to just dispel this right at the top. In my faith, I'm a Christian Catholic. I've heard priests get up and say, do not practice yoga. It opens your mind to all, and in your body to all these different, and to me, ridiculous things that they're talking about. But can you address the idea that somebody who is a Christian or is Jewish or Muslim, I know yoga has its roots in Hinduism, but is it something that somebody who is not Hindu, somebody has a different faith tradition, can also become practice without becoming Hindu? That's a very awkward and dumb way to pose that question, but I'm hoping
I understand what you're saying.
You understand, yes.
Yes, no, and I'm so glad you broached the topic, because there are people, you know, are uneducated about the practice, and there's misinformation out there. So just like you said, thousands of years ago, yoga started in India. Its roots are in Hinduism. I want to be very clear. Yoga is not a religion. I'll say it again. Yoga is not a religion. Anyone can practice yoga. They are not, they're not doing anything wrong within if they are Christian, Jewish, Buddhist. Yoga is for everyone. It is for all body types. It is for all people. Yoga is a spiritual practice, mind, body, heart, right? And however you connect to spirituality, or even if you don't, right? If you're an atheist or agnostic, you can still practice yoga. There are so many benefits. So I'm glad you brought that up. And yoga is not a religion. While its roots are from India, it is not a religion. Yeah.
No, I thought that was really important, because I've run into, not a lot, but I have run into people who have said, wow, you're Catholic, you're a Christian, and you do yoga. And I'm like, well, first, what I do, maybe it's yoga, but, but no, I just want people to know that there's a lot of things that we don't know about that scare us. And so instead of investigating and finding out, we just kind of go, nope, it scares me, I'm running away.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, when people are fearful of something, they judge it. They can be ignorant. And I'm so glad you brought this up, because yoga does not conflict with any religions. Yoga is not a religious practice.
Yeah. So it is a practice, and it is something that when people practice it every day, they get lots of benefits from. Talk a little bit about some of the benefits that kids can get from practicing yoga.
Absolutely. So, Yogi Beans, like I said, we've been around for 16 years now, and we have our own philosophy, which is, we have these 4 pillars. There's the mind light, the heart light, the yoga body, and the yogic way. And there are benefits for each of those. So mind light, right? Anything that has to do with the mind. How our children and the adult, I will say the benefits for children are very similar to the benefits for adults, right? We're all human beings, whether we're 9 or 99. So the benefits are really the same. So mind light, that's where we're practicing focus, concentration, one pointed focus, putting our attention on one thing, meditation, mindfulness, all of those things that help ease our mind. Sometimes I'll say the mind is like a monkey moving from thought to thought, right? Especially at night, right? We lie down and every thought in our head comes in our mind. So The mind light, right? Those are fostering those type of values: concentration, focus, mindfulness. Heart light, anything social emotional learning, which is so important for children. Values such as compassion, empathy, gratitude, self-confidence, self-compassion. And then we have the yoga body, which in the West is what we really are most familiar with the practice, right? The physical aspect of the practice. So that's going to focus on strength, flexibility, coordination, proprioception, right? Knowing where our body is in space. And then the fourth pillar we have is the yogic way. And that's really, how do we interact with the people around us, and that's instilling values such as, non-judgment, inclusivity, diversity, friendship. So there are so many. I like to break it up into those buckets because yoga is mind, body, heart. So it taps into each of those areas. It's we are talking about the whole child, right? Not just linguistic or mathematical intelligence, the whole being.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things we celebrate here on the Reading with Your Kids podcast, obviously, is reading with your kids. But I'm guessing 108 awesome yoga poses for kids. While you could sit down, snuggled up on the couch, and read the book from front to back, I'm guessing that's not what you wrote it for. It sounds like it's a
right.
great book to kind of get out and get families moving together. But I'm guessing there's a parent out there saying, I don't know how to do yoga. How am I going to teach this stuff to my kids?
That's why you buy the book. That's why the book is there to help you. So the book is very, my original intention for the book, Yogi Beans leads trainings. So we teach people how to teach yoga to kids. We teach teachers. We do professional developments. We go into schools. So originally I was thinking, this would be a great, resource for adults to learn how to teach kids. And then, as you know, you're working on a book, you're working with publishers and editors, and things change. And we decided we're going to make this book for kids. So it's going to have this playful element where a child can pick up the book and maybe they just want to do, there's 108 poses. There's a lot of different themes. So maybe they just want to do the outer space theme. They love outer space and they're working on those poses, So the book is great for adults that want to share yoga with children, and also something that a child can pick up on their own. Children are very visual, right? Even just they learn by what we do, not necessarily what we say. Mm-hmm. So the beautiful thing about this book is there are clear photographs of each pose. It's not like a drawing or a cartoon where they could physically see the pose. And I envision, children looking through the book, looking which pose looks most fun, something like tree pose or a crow pose or a balancing pose. Those are the ones kids, they like to stand on one foot. And turning to that page and practicing the pose and just getting them moving. Children today, they're very sedentary. We live in a sit and scroll society. So, now with summer coming up, just getting them active, getting them outdoors, take the book, bring it outdoors. There's also, we kind of incorporated a little guessing game in the book. So if you do it with a friend, one child reads the clue. The other child has to guess, ooh, is that a cat? Is that a cow? Is that an elephant? And then they do the pose together. So it gives it this interactive element as well.
Well, that sounds really neat. And it sounds different than I think what a lot of people envision when they're thinking of a yoga class and going in and it's quiet and it's kind of, I don't know if regimented is the word, but everybody's doing kind of the same thing. And you start here and you kind of go through and your mind is really focused. This sounds more playful in that kids can go out and they can do a downward facing dog and then do a little clue and then do another pose. And
it's not linear.
Mm-hmm. That was the word. You're so much better with these words than I am.
Oh, no. But like what you said, children's yoga is different. So like I want kids to be introduced to the practice, to get their bodies moving and really to build their confidence. So much of what we do at Yogi Beans is to honor children's authenticity, to remind them that they are special. Like I said, those values, it's not just, it's compassion for others, but it's also self-compassion for yourself. It's self-confidence. It's self-love, So it's not, they can choose, there's so many themes in the book. We have transportation, outer space, safari, park, the list goes And they're going to choose whichever they want to do. Maybe they want to work on one theme a week, or maybe they want to do one pose from each theme. There's no right or wrong way. Mm-hmm. It's kids. Again, it has to be fun. And the book is very fun. It's very playful with the little clues. And then there's little pictures of, all the different animals. There's a picture of me doing the pose, but then there's some really cute visuals of, cute little lamb or a cute little puppy to go with the downward dog.
Yeah. How can we, because I know kids are different, and I know here in my own home when my kids were younger, my daughter who danced, she just was naturally flexible. And, if you told her, okay, put your left leg over your right ear and then balance on your finger, she could do it. Whereas, as if you asked my son to sit down and like a pretzel, that might be a little bit more challenging for him. How do we, in that situation, how do we encourage the kids who aren't as naturally flexible and able to do these poses to not get discouraged and to keep on trying?
I love that question. So in the beginning of the book, there is a little, like an introduction to yoga and just some basic kind of our Yogi Beans principles, right? And one of those is yoga's a practice, not a perfect. And when we're teaching in person, and this is for adults too. I've had many people come through our trainings and say, I'm going to use that with the adults I teach. It's called a yoga practice, not a yoga perfect. Yoga is not about winning. Yoga is not about doing a pose perfectly. And I think that's really important because children, I said they're under a lot of stress today. Daily stress at school. If they're playing competitive sports are great and they're competitive. They can induce a lot of stress in a child. Yoga is a physical activity that is non-competitive. It's not about winning. It's not about touching your toes. I'll tell them you don't get a medal if you can touch your toes. All the poses are going to look different and they're all going to change because the more you practice, the more flexibility you're going to have, the more strength you're going to have, the more balance you're going to have. But it's all a practice. Yeah. And I think that's really nice for children to have a space where it's not about being A++ or 100%. It's just about existing and listening to your body.
Lauren, how did you get into yoga?
How did I get into yoga? So I got into yoga in college. I took a class. It was really, I think, like many of us in the West, it was the physical elements of the practice, the stretching and the mostly physical. And then I started getting into more of the, I'd say mental, the meditation focus, the spiritual components, again, spiritual, not religious, components of the practice. And my practice deepened and evolved. In a past life, I was an actress. And I was kind of sick of doing the waitressing gig. And in order to pay my bills, I got into fitness. So I started with Pilates and then I got into yoga. And when I did my adult yoga training, you have to do a teaching practicum. They have you teach a pose and you have to make sure you know the right alignment and the correct cueing. So when I went up and did my teaching practicum, I was told, Lauren, good alignment points, very good cueing. However, you have a lot of energy. And if you want to teach yoga, you might want to tone it down a bit. And I thought in my head, Jed, well, yoga's about honoring your authentic self, right? Loving who you are. And I'm like, and this is me. I'm loud. I have big facial expressions. Like, this is who I am. And I'm not going to change because that would be inauthentic. And I thought maybe I should teach kids because I did a lot of children's theater. I was a nanny and I love children. And that was kind of how the seed for Yogi Beans got planted.
Wonderful.
And then from that, kind of grew this organic, had a very organic growth.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Are you finding that there are a lot of parents who are picking up 108 awesome yoga poses for kids are coming back and saying, I'm doing it now too. Thank you for this book because now I'm starting to do a yoga practice.
So the book, we have a lot of pre-orders and I'm hoping that's the case. The book does come out July 18th. However, I can speak to that because I have had a lot of parents take our classes and then from their child doing yoga, they have started their own practice. And that is a wonderful thing to hear when a parent comes to you and says, I've never done yoga before because I'm too fast and I thought it would be boring. However, I see how it's helped my child. and I've started taking classes, and that has happened a few times. And I love hearing that. Other things that have happened is a parent will come and be like, I was kind of flipping my lid the other day, and my little one said to me, Mommy, I think you need to take 3 deep breaths, so the kids kind of put it back on the parents. And I don't know, I think the parents are happy about that. But that has also happened.
That's really cool. One of the things I think is so wonderful about a family is that we can learn from each other. And it's obvious that parents, they're are maybe the primary teachers. We all love to say that parents are a kid's first and most important teacher. Mm-hmm. But I have a feeling the kids are also pretty important teachers for their parents.
I agree with you 100%. I think when parents, adults, are open to listening to kids and give children the respect that they deserve, I think there's a lot that they can teach us. I often think, especially being a parent to my 2 girls, there's sometimes a mirror of the stuff that I need to work on. I look at them and I say, ooh, I didn't really like that reaction. And then I go, ooh, that's a reaction that I have. No, I know where she learned it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's, it goes both ways. It's like a mirror.
Yeah. Well, I know people are going to want to know where they can go to find out more about 108 awesome yoga poses for kids, and maybe find out more about Yogi Beans and find out more about you.
Yes. So you can visit yogibeans.com, of course, and yogibeans.com/book. You'll be able to order, pre-order or order the book anywhere books are sold. There's a whole list, Target, Barnes & Noble, some more independent bookshops, and of course there's Amazon as well. And then you can follow us on Instagram. We're really active there. Yogi_Beans. We're on TikTok, all the social places, Facebook. We're not on Twitter. We don't tweet.
Okay.
But other than that, you can find us pretty much on all of those sites. And the website is the best place to go.
So if I pick up my copy of 108 awesome yoga poses for kids, and I find some kids and I get into a yoga pose and get a picture and tag you on Instagram, will you check it out and let me know?
I would love that. I'd like to see one of you in Shavasana too. Someone can take that for you.
Okay. All right. That should be one I should be able to master pretty quickly.
I'm telling you, and you can start slow, even just a minute. It's a challenge though for all of us, not just kids, to learn how to be in our own stillness and silence and kind of not get distracted by our thoughts. It's a practice.
Yeah.
It's all a practice.
Yeah. Well, we are so happy that you came here and reminded us that yoga is a practice. It's not a perfect. I think that's true for life too.
There are many.
In my life.
I always tell the kids we want to take the yoga off of the mat and into our real life, right? So that's a great example of that. It's all a practice. We don't have to be perfect. Perfect it's non-existent, and it's kind of boring anyway.
Well, this hasn't been a perfect podcast interview, but it's been pretty close, and I'm glad that you were here
I've
to
enjoyed
practice
it.
with me. Yes. We've had a great time speaking to the author of 108 Awesome Yoga Poses for Kids. Our guest has been Lauren Chaitoff. Hey, Lauren, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Jed. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast, and will join us for the next exciting episode. If you want to make sure you don't miss a second of the show, please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Stitch Radio, wherever you get your podcasts. And also be sure to visit readingwithyourkids.com and download your copy of the Reading With Your Kids online magazine. It's free. It's available at readingwithyourkids.com. Just click on our blog. Before we go, I want to make sure that I give a big thank you to my team: Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Madison Dairies, Soji Franklin, Monica Rivera Sosa, Ann O'Leary. I want to give a big thank you to my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me, and most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.